but still watching the forecast behind the scenes. And Matt, there's just some doubts when we're talking about this tornado potential in our area.
There is. I'm going to be here at the annual gala for the Lafayette Oxford Chamber of Commerce this evening. That's why I'm here in Lafayette County and you're back there in the studio. Let's talk about this tornado threat here for just a second. First and foremost, this is not a high level risk. And there's a pretty decent chance that we do not see tornadoes out of this setup. It's interesting, though, because the only reason we have it is because this very limited possible chance. What we have is a very, very wet atmosphere. You've noticed it because of the flooding rainfall we've had. So there's plenty of moisture around that will end up fueling thunderstorms. The question is if we can get some that have just the right amount of shear. I think that's, again, a non-zero chance. Overnight, closer to the coast, we're more likely to see something. And then I don't think it's really going to get here up in the northern part of the state. That's something we're going to be watching closely. Tomorrow, late in the day, is another chance. And again, I don't think it's a high likelihood here, Gabe. But again, it's not an impossibility. And so that's why this level one, this is why level one risk, Gabe, exists in the first place, where something's not impossible, but also not likely. So I think it's very, very likely that we go between now and Sunday and see 0 tornado touchdowns. I also think it's possible we could see perhaps a brief tornado warning. And again, not impossible to see something. But again, the big headline, flash flooding and flooding rainfall. We're much more likely to have issues with that. We've already had some of those over the last 24 to 48 hours, right?
You're exactly right, Matt. And so we're going to continue to watch that here behind the scenes. But of course, appreciate you hopping on and have fun at your visit. And we'll, of course, talk to you throughout the rest of our evening and into tomorrow morning as well. So we'll talk to you then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, and getting a look at that tornado risk, we're going to bring it back over here to the Room to Room Weather Center and look specifically at each individual risk. Of course, we talk about that tornado threat and how it is in a very limited variety, and the damaging wind threat. I'll honestly say line that up well with those with that tornado potential as well. Perhaps moving it a little bit further into North Mississippi, but as of right now, the Storm Prediction Center pushing it more towards northern Alabama. But either way, very limited in that severe weather potential, as a large part of our thresholds are outside of our viewing area. The only reason why they have put that level one threat in place for us in heading into our Friday is because that little bit of helicity, that little bit of rotation showing up, as well as that little bit of instability. So that non-zero chance, that's exactly right, and that's how we're going to treat it getting into the next 24 hours. Starkville this evening, 73 degrees. Of course, you can see the rainfall there on the campus of Mississippi State. Fortunately, this time last week was graduation. This week, a little bit calmer on campus. You can see cars not showing up as much. So students are out for summer and enjoying a soggy forecast no matter where they're at here in North Mississippi. Greenville, 72 degrees, getting some of that heavier downpour as well. This looking east into the rainfall, but towards the more south and southeast viewing part, that's where we are getting some of those heavier downpours and perhaps a rumble of thunder mixing in as well. And looking out of our Tupelo camera, brought to you by the folks there at Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling, we are getting some of those darker clouds building more and more. Something we'll look at with our Mama Justice Doppler radar here in just a moment. But those reds that are returning, showing up a little bit more evident. That's going to be moving closer to downtown Tupelo as we get further into our Thursday evening. Looking at that stationary front, just gradually working its way towards the north. And the big reason why we are also experiencing potentially some strong storms tomorrow is because of this warm front. This front right here lifting more towards the north, and that's going to allow us to be more in the warm sector, increasing our rain chances, increasing our storm chances, and maybe mixing in a brief tornado, primarily going to be towards South Mississippi where that highest potential is, but perhaps over here in the far northern part of the Magnolia State. And again, we'll look at our helicity tracks in just a moment and assess that as we get further into our Friday. As we look towards Gulfport, we did have a brief tornado warning. So where these tornadoes do form, and tornadoes, it shouldn't even be the word I'm using because it is such a limited potential there. But if a tornado does form, this is not going to be long-lived. It'll be very brief, only for a scan or two before that does start to dissipate on out. That's what they had down there in Gulfport, where a rotating storm was trying to move in. But fortunately, as of right now, not getting any confirmation that that did take place. So Futurecast overnight takes those rain chances up into North Mississippi. And where you're getting those darker reds, that's where we're going to get some heavier outputs of rainfall. So if you've been relatively dry today and you're waiting on your garden to be watered, Well, heading overnight, it will, as those rain chances extend further north and become more widespread. By midnight, 1, 2 o'clock on your Friday morning, continue to see those chances linger around, but overall going to be light to moderate in nature. A few brief heavy downpours are possible, but watch that change into the start of our Friday as a large part of this thunderstorm activity moves into the southern half of the Magnolia State, and eventually, as it works this northeast trend, will keep some of the stronger storms there as well, south of the Golden Triangle, and really moving along the state line more into Alabama. But since it's so saturated, since it's so soggy, that's going to be a limiting factor in what little tornado potential that there is in that level 1 threat. So the more activity we see, the better, because that's going to eat at that energy, that little bit of energy we do have, and hopefully keep that threat to a 0 here in North Mississippi. But with that level 1 threat in place, we're going to treat it cautiously and make sure that we stay prepared getting into our Friday. 6 a.m. we're 50%, 60% by 9, 50% by noon, and into the afternoon we continue to see those scattered chances linger around and a few rumbles of thunder sticking around there as well. So have the rain gear ready. Coverage is going to be a little bit higher than what we've seen so far today, and so those rain chances going to be impacting a lot more folks tomorrow as well. That's why that level 1 flash flood threat is in place too. We're looking at that in much more detail coming up in the next 60 seconds as Mississippi Live Weather continues live at 6 o'clock right after the break.
Room to Room's Memorial Day sale is here. No tax, 36-month special financing, and don't miss our red hot doorbusters. Bedroom sets starting at $9.99, sofas starting at $6.99. Hurry in, the sale won't last long, only at Room to Room Tupelo.
How do you know if your roofer is actually telling you the truth or just trying to sell you something you don't need? I'm Chris with Absolute Restoration. When we come out, we don't tell you what's wrong. We show you with photos, videos, and documentation. You'll see exactly what we see so you can make your own decision. And we back our work with a 50-year warranty and a 25-year algae warranty. Plus, no cost upgrades with 0% financing and no payment for 6 months.
People tell me how lucky my daughter is to have been adopted. But really, we're the lucky ones. Learn more at adoptuskids.org.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
So continuing to look at that storm potential tomorrow, we're going to be looking at storm rotation, something that you can see here on Mississippi Live Weather. And I did see a lot of folks there in the chat bring that up for just a moment, that, is the tornado threat in the overnight hours or just tomorrow afternoon? Well, storm rotation will help us assess that and line up when exactly we're expecting even the slightest bit of tornado potential here in North Mississippi. Yes, Wendy's saying if Gabe takes that jacket off, go to your place. Yeah, jacket not coming off tonight. You guys will be good for tonight. Just going to be some of those showers and thunderstorms. But let's go ahead and get into that rotation track to see where potentially that could line up here in North Mississippi. So big thing overall, the stationary front, that's what's driving this potential getting into our Friday. This will gradually work its way up there towards the north and build in some of that thunderstorm activity here in the northern half of the Magnolia State. And while, it remains sub-severe, that's some pretty heavy downpours developing towards Montgomery County, even towards Chickasaw, Pontotoc, Tupelo, showing up there as well. So getting overnight, what you don't see are any helicity tracks, any of that rotation that we're looking for. And that's, of course, indicated by that red up there, where it's more of those dark reds. That's going to be more of a limited capacity, but where it becomes more bright, that's where confidence does increase. But what you're getting out of this, you can see those limited bits of rotation. So that's where a rotating storm is possible. But this is not going to be one where I expect it to reach all the way to the surface, because we don't have a ton of energy in our area, and the upper level wind support, it's somewhat there, but it is not an impressive return. So we don't exactly have the environment favorable for these to really get going and produce a tornado. But as we get further through the day, we can see that some of that activity does try to at least hint at some of that rotation. If we zoom things out, you can see how that changes the further south you go, down towards South Mississippi, more of those dark returns and more of those swamps that we're looking for any of those brief tornadoes to be produced. Here in North Mississippi, it's just not as impressive of a return. We're basically pulling teeth to try to get a helicity track, and that's a good thing in the grand scheme of things, because that means our tornado potential is very low. Now, as we get towards the afternoon, you can see some of those darker tracks try to show up there, even this one towards Grenada. So this is where potentially a brief tornado is possible, but even then, I'm not sold on these chances. Overall, I expect this to remain more towards the south, if not the east part or east of our area. And even then, it's in a very limited capacity. Matt said it at the top. It's a non-zero chance of a tornado. You know, if things do go right, the energy lines up with the winds, then we could see a brief tornado, but that's more of hitting the jackpot. Not in a good way, just hitting the jackpot with this type of setup. But the level 1 threat is in place for perhaps a brief tornado that does include parts along and east of Highway 45. But even then, I do have my doubts getting into that forecast tomorrow. But that level 1 tornado threat is in place. So one thing I do want to say, long-lived tornadoes not expected, strong tornadoes not expected in any part of this level 1 threat. And since it is a level 1 threat, those reports are going to be very limited. Hopefully none getting into this time tomorrow, but of course that potential is there, but in a very limited capacity. As we continue to look outside across the region, this is getting a look in Boonville. Boonville taking in a battle down south in Pearl in some of our state baseball action. We'll get a look at some sports coming up later on in this broadcast if you're looking for some of those state champions, and we do have a new one to crown here in North Mississippi. Ackerman dealing with some of those light to moderate showers across the region, so grab the rain gear if you're in Choctaw County, going to need it into those Thursday plans. And then continuing our tour across North Mississippi, we're going to head over to Columbus, where you can see the saturation there on the roadways, but looks like it's been a while since that rainfall did come down, so hopefully getting a bit of a break before more chances build in later on tonight. So right now, where we stand, our Mama Justice Doppler radar tracking that rainfall really along and south of Highway 82, but gradually just working its way north. Why? The warm front's gradually lifting north, and that warm sector back behind it is beginning to cover more of us here in North Mississippi. So if you've been without rainfall today, New Albany, Hernando, Corinth, well, getting into getting into the next couple of hours, that's where our chances do finally move in, giving us that much needed rainfall. But these totals are amounting to quite a bit here in North Mississippi, so make sure to grab that rain gear and be prepared, because another flash flooding threat is in place for tomorrow. We're in a level 1 threat for flash flooding. I wouldn't be shocked if this got up to a slight, because overnight tonight and working our way into our Friday, we have a lot of rainfall expected. Some of those outputs in excess of 2 inches across the area, and over a short time frame, that's where some of that flash flooding potential is there. We're 60% on that coverage by 8, but 80% by 10 by midnight. So going to cover a large portion of us here in North Mississippi, and that'll continue overnight as well. So your stationary front, like I said, lifting towards the north and upping those rain chances, covering a large portion of us here in North Mississippi. And looking specifically at a few of these, just east of Grenada, close to Eupora, south of Winona, getting some of those heavier outputs. And as that continues to work its way towards the north, I see some of those training right there. Let's actually go back one scan real quick. And I'm going to restart this and go back through our futurecast. So watch right towards Grenada. So we mentioned that storm right there. So right here, watch how it basically trains on itself, right? For about an hour, 2 hours. If we get 2 hours of about a 5-inch an hour rainfall producer, that's where we could see some of that flash flooding threat be in place. Now, I know I chose Grenada in particular. This could line up anywhere with those heavier outputs of rainfall, but if we get a training scenario, meaning a one storm after another over the same area, then that's where our flooding threat is unfortunately there. And honestly, we don't want to experience that, as we have seen, unfortunately, some casualties early this year from flooding. So let's be safe, let's monitor the conditions, and let's not get out on those roadways if they do become flooded or just really soggy, and drive safe out there on those roadways. 6 a.m. Friday morning, still seeing some of that coverage there, but overall going to be lower in intensity than what we're dealing with during our Friday afternoon. So 64 Houston and Bruce, 65 Grenada and Eupora, 66 Macon and Columbus, and 68 Belzona and Greenville. A very mild start to our Friday, and our school day stays mild and pretty soggy throughout all those plans. Our final day of the school year, at least final day in our school year here at Mississippi Live Weather, wrapping it up, and our graduates of 2026 being sent off to the adult world. Welcome, everybody. 67 towards drop-off, 75 by lunch, and 79 by that final bell. Again, rain chances from start to finish. So what an ending to the school year, right? As we look at our Futurecast Friday, this is a welcome sight. All of this activity here is going to be competing for that little bit of energy we do have. So while we are in that warm sector, and it is a very warm and humid air mass, if we have a ton of storm activity, this is going to limit our potential here in North Mississippi. And I know I just took it back a moment ago. I'm going to do it again, and we're going to go on a broader scale for our Friday morning to assess these rain chances. And what you'll see, look towards the south this time. What do you see different? Well, here, it's a heavy shower here and there, But down south, you're getting more of that convection, allowing these storms to really take off, increase in strength, and potentially along that leading edge. That's where a brief tornado is possible. That's going to be out there towards southwest Alabama, continuing to work its way just south of Montgomery, right close to Andalusia. So coastal areas, that's what I'm watching for, perhaps that brief tornado. Our area just very limited in that confidence because of the amount of action that we do have and the little amount of ingredients that are in place for North Mississippi. So bringing it back into our area, I just wanted to point that out as we go about those morning plans, because while the potential is there and while a lot of us are going to take note of that and go ahead and get those safety plans, please do that. But don't be overly alarmed. Just make sure to be on the safe side. Just understand that a large part of this potential is on the very, very low side, a non-zero chance. 3 p.m. still getting some of that scattered activity, and some of these storms will pack a punch. That one down there towards Holmes County stands out, and even more of those heavy downpours closer to Senatobia, Holly Springs, and closer to the Tennessee state line. That scattered activity continues into the 6 o'clock hour on our Friday, so it is very much going to be a soggy pattern. Rainfall totals throughout our Friday and into our Friday evening, you can see that they amount to quite a bit. 2 inches Grenada, 3 Greenwood. Where those reds show up is actually in excess of 4 inches. So our HRRR model trying to tell us that we are getting several inches added to what has already been a soggy pattern. So not going to take much to maybe flood some of those culverts or flood some of those county roads and wash those out. So we want to be on the cautious side, drive safely. And if you hear of any flooding, stay away from those areas and let that water get cleared. Starkville and Columbus, and 82 Belzona and 81 Greenville. It is going to be a little bit of a cooler afternoon, all things considered, compared to what we had earlier this week in the 90s. But rain just does that. It brings some of that rain-cooled air, and we get more of that getting overnight as well. Additional chances stick around early Saturday morning, and that's where we'll be dealing with another soggy day for the start of our Memorial Day weekend. So looking at our futurecast, stays mostly dry Saturday, a bit of a break, but still seeing some isolated chances stick around. We're 66 Amory, Starkville, 67 Greenwood and Cleveland, 65 Senatobia and South Haven. So still keeping those mild temperatures around. But as we go about our Saturday, you can see how those chances just stick around throughout all of those plans, but in a very scattered fashion. One thing we do get is by the afternoon, those storms do start to bubble up a little bit more, and that sporadic development will be overhead once again for us and those Saturday plans. So plan accordingly, have that rain gear ready. Not saying it's going to be a rainy day for everybody. As you can see, a little bit of a dry spell there along Highway 82 from Greenwood all the way to Columbus. So there will be some moments where you're able to get by, but that's why you need to have that Mississippi Live weather app handy so you can track out those chances. And if you see an hour of opportunity, well, take advantage of it. Into our Sunday, more chances are on the horizon, so don't think this dry image on our futurecast is saying much, because by Sunday, more rain chances move back in. We're 85 Eupora, Houston and Bruce, 84 Tupelo and Amory, 83 Holly Springs and New Albany, 82 Booneville and Iuka. So getting a little bit warmer Saturday because rain chances take a bit of a step back, but won't take that much of a step back. As you see, rain chances are still on the horizon Friday and Saturday, and graduations should be wrapping up beyond this weekend. But congratulations to our class of 2026, work that you've done and all the things that you've been able to accomplish, and excited to see what you guys do in the future. But the graduation forecast, wanted to feature it for those last final days of the week as graduation is ongoing, but excited for you guys and excited to see what you can do. And who knows, potentially we have some meteorologists in that class of 26 that may join us way down the line, once they go to college and things. But hey, just excited to see all the future meteorologists that are in the making. Sunday, we see those rain chances return 60%, and then into Monday and Tuesday, we're sticking around scattered chances 40 to 50%, still with a few rumbles possible, and into even midweek, even the latter part of next week, dealing with those rain chances in the area. So have the rain gear ready. Going to be a very busy week when we're talking rain chances. Going to pull up the chat real quick because I want to see what you guys are saying in the chat. And of course, the first thing I'm seeing is Penny saying, "This is not a way to welcome me home from vacation, Gabe." I know, I'm sorry. Luckily, a large part of this remaining sub-severe. So as we're looking at those rain chances, it's just going to be the flash flooding threat, I would say, is the biggest thing to take away from this. Level 1 in place tomorrow. Not going to be shocked if that gets upgraded to a level 2, especially if those outputs are showing potentially 4 inches in some spots. But a soggy pattern, that is for sure. So make sure to stay dry, stay safe, and monitor those conditions. And don't drive into those flood warnings. We'll, of course, keep you updated and post those as needed or as they do become available, and update you guys in the broadcast and let you know where those are taking place. Justin saying, "Gabe, can we talk about Saturday, please?" Plans to go to the lake. That's the thing about Memorial Day weekend. I know you guys have a lot of plans to just go out and enjoy some plans outside. Well, I mean, we're talking rain chances Saturday and Sunday, scattered chances, all things considered. So I think there will be some moments of opportunity where you get some dry weather, but overall, you're still going to be dodging some showers and storms. So please try and stay dry. So we don't have any tornadoes in the weather tonight and tomorrow. Let me say this, it's a non-zero chance. So the thing with these chances of tornadoes, they will be brief, they will be weaker, but it is still a chance of a tornado. Getting into our Friday, this will be more towards our Friday morning and Friday afternoon. Really, Friday afternoon is what we're watching for if there is any potential, but a large part of that remaining south towards those Gulf Coast communities. So that's really the area that I'm watching for tonight. It's a non-zero chance, but really that non-zero chance carries over into the start of our Friday. So you're good to go to sleep. And if you want some reassurance, I encourage you guys to go ahead and download Weather Call if you have not done so already. A weather call is something we partner with to keep you guys safe, and it gives you peace of mind whenever you're going to bed, especially, you know, we have a little one added to our family, and we want to do everything we can to keep everyone safe in our family, and Weather Call is a great way to do so. $15 a year gives you a call for tornadoes, calls back if it's confirmed, calls back for severe storms and major flooding. Major flooding, something that we're going to be dealing with, so definitely, major flooding. Flash flooding is something we'll be dealing with, so Weather Call, definitely keeping Mississippi families safe, and encourage you guys to download that today. So you can scan right here to sign up, and it is $15 a year, which is just over a little over $1 a month. So appreciate everyone that has signed up for it, and I know that because it's kept you guys safe and called you in the event of any strong storms overnight, so that way you're able to actually get some sleep. So anyone that's wanting to go to sleep tonight and wants some reassurance, will download Weather Call and you'll be able to do exactly that. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking all things sports and see our latest winner here in the north half of the Magnolia State. Who that is, find out after the break.
Hi, my name is Rosie. Regional Rehab Center helps kids like me by offering speech therapy, occupational therapy, and dyslexia therapy. Your support helps so many of us get what we need to grow and succeed. Please help the Rehab Center.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Well, another day in the week means another day down in Pearl, and we have our high school game of the week action ongoing. East Webster playing tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Boonville playing at 4, and Pontotoc at 7. If you look at those forecasts, unfortunately dealing with those rain chances from start to finish once again. They did have a rain delay earlier today, but as of then, or since then, have been able to get those games in. Hopefully we'll continue tonight as well, but getting into tomorrow. Unfortunately, it's again today. Why? North Pacific. Take a listen.
All the boys in blue jersey tops are on the rail down the third baseline, ready to explode if this next pitch finds the zone from Lanston Kent. The 0-2. Got him, called strike 3. A combined no-hitter is how they take home a state crown. It's number 7 in school history for the Saltillo Tigers. 6A champs once again. The moment that they've been waiting for all day long. The championship trophy goes back to Saltillo for the 7th time in school history, and they are your back-to-back 6A state champions.
That is right. Your Saltillo Tigers are your 6A state champions here in the state of Mississippi. Proud of them. It was a hard battle. They lost game 1, 11-12. Ended up winning game 2, as you saw on the bottom of your screen there. And game 3 was that final moment where they were able to pull away and win. And of course, that game 3 is the rubber match that ended up solidifying that 6A state title. So proud of them, proud of all that they were able to accomplish and bringing the second championship home, not just to the north half of Mississippi, but specifically Lee County. Moreville, the other representative there, and more action ongoing to potentially bring more championships home. But so far, it's 2 championships to north half, 0 for south half. Don't mean to brag, but we seem to know our way around the diamond, that's right. But as we look at our matchups heading into tomorrow, we first start with a look at East Webster taking on Mize. Now, as of right now, that game 1 is at 0-0 as 2A action starts today, and game 2 is going to be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So it's going to be another day where you're dodging some showers, but East Webster and Mize, very similar in their record. And hopefully our north half team represents. East Webster, of course, need to do something in game 1 to get a run on the board, but excited to see how that game pans out, and we'll see who comes away with it tomorrow afternoon as well. As we look at our next matchup, 3A action, Boonville dropping game 1 against Presbyterian Christian 0-5. Game 2 is happening tomorrow at 4 o'clock. They were actually at the Saltillo game and the West Union game today as well, cheering on both teams and, of course, hoping that they come away with it. But it's a busy game with West Union. They were right there behind home plate and probably scouting a little bit as well, potentially for next year. But Boonville needing to win game 2 so that way they can have a day. But that game 2 is Friday at 4 o'clock. And, of course, my family, we're Blue Devils, so cheering on Boonville to hopefully come away with that game 2 and eventually a 3A state title. Let's jump over to 5A action. Pontotoc taking on Sumrall. Pontotoc actually falling in game 1, 5-7. That game happened on Wednesday, so it's been a while since we've had, actually I believe it was on Tuesday, so it's been a while since we've had action, but their game 2 is on Friday at 7 o'clock. Sumrall, you can see outmatching them in the record. They're 33-6 and 12-1 compared to Pontotoc's 21-14-1, and they're also being 6-4 in district play. So Sumrall is the favorite. But they competed game 1, potential for game 2 to be interesting as well. We'll find out tomorrow evening how Pontotoc is able to do and hopefully come away with that title like 2 of our teams here in North Half, Moreville Troopers and your Saltillo Tigers, 4A and 6A champions. And as we head through the rest of this week, we'll see where the rest of the dominoes fall. But as of right now, 2 representatives to 0. North Half remains on top. And if we add that to our softball total from last week, we're at 8 total championships on the diamond. So baseball has a chance to make that even larger, but based off my math, that means we take the majority, and that means we own the diamond here in North Half, at least for 2026. So proud of our teams and proud of what they've been able to accomplish, and hopefully get to see even more of them heading into the years to come, as this is multi-championship or multi-winning championships. They've won the championship many times, and this is just what they do with Moreville and Saltillo, and of course hoping to continue that through the rest of the decade and potentially into the years to come. But as we look at that forecast, continues to be dodging rain showers, and that's unfortunately what we're dealing with getting into tomorrow. So baseball, perfect forecast for baseball is rain, right? No, I'm just joking. So unfortunately, that's what we're going to be having to deal with. As we look at the chat real quick, Charlotte, I saw your comment. There was a tornado warning going off just about 10 minutes ago. I'm curious which one you're talking about, because we did actually have a tornado warning, not here in North Mississippi and not in our coverage area. But if we go down south, and I'll actually have to put it on our national composite here and go down to the Gulf Coast region, because earlier on, if I'm able to pinpoint it, wasn't 10 minutes ago, but right there. As the storms were moving north of Gulfport, closer to Highway 49, we had that tornado warning get issued. Nothing confirmed on that, but there was at least a warning of some of that broad rotation taking place. But that's well south, and guys, this is where I expect that tornado threat to be getting into our Friday as well. So while there is that limited potential here in North Mississippi, overall, it's just looking more prime down south. So here in North Mississippi, it's going to be a bit hard to come by with those severe weather parameters, but that level 1 threat is something to at least take into consideration. Go ahead and get those safety plans in place. Whether you have to use it or not, it's still a good thing to discuss with your family and make sure that everyone knows what to do. Once Cruz is old enough, trust me, we'll be discussing that with him so that way he knows where to go when severe weather does strike. But heading into our Friday, while it is a very limited chance, a non-zero chance, it's still enough to get those plans in place. So yes, non-zero chance, and that's primarily going to be into your Friday. So you're going to be able to sleep easy tonight, but of course we'll be watching for anything heading into those early morning hours tomorrow and really throughout our Friday as well. So keep it here for the very latest. Trust me, we won't let you guys down. So as we continue through the rest of our evening, I do want to encourage you guys to download that Mississippi Live Weather app. Told you to get those plans in place. Well, a great piece of that plan is the Mississippi Live Weather app to let you know those alerts as those storms move into town. Lets me know when rain is headed my direction. I think I've gotten 2 alerts in just this broadcast alone. So if I was outside, I'd know to head inside. And if there was any lightning associated with it, I'd know to get inside, or when thunder roars, go indoors. So would have followed suit with that. So the app does a great job of letting you know that. Like, subscribe, follow on all of our social medias, and appreciate all of you guys who have done so far, and just your support here in North Mississippi. Our next broadcast is going to be at 9 o'clock tonight, taking the latest on those model runs and seeing where things have trended. Really a big thing.